I have to start to say it has been fantastic to follow the IGM Uppsala team this summer. To see the great knowledge of the team and also the great energy they have had for this work. And I will give you a presentation today about probiotics, and I will spend most of my time to give kind of a background so you understand in which the system where those bacteria have to work, and the system in which, food we eat have the ability to affect us in other ways than just composing and giving nutrients to us. So the gut ecosystem, that I guess you know already that this is an extremely complex ecosystem. When it comes to bacteria, we have perhaps around 1,000 species of bacteria, and the number are 10 to the order 14. Compared with the number of human cells in the body, this is 10 to the number 13. Comparing the number of cells, you're 90% bacteria, only 10% human. I think it's worthwhile to think about that. And also that the composition of those microbes, both when it comes to activity but also who they are, depends very much on the diet we eat, because what we eat is also food for the bacteria. And disturbances like drugs, antibiotics is a good example of that. Stress and also infections affect the whole ecosystem in different ways. And age, we are born sterile, of course, but it's a very shaky period, the first years of life. But the bacteria you have today, more or less the same bugs have you had since the year of you're 2 years old. So those are the friends you are kind of harboring the whole life. We have a spatial variation from the mouth to the anus, a lot of different bacteria and different niches in this ecosystem. And of course the immune system, that's the big part of how we deal with those bacteria. They very much shaping the bacteria, which bacteria are found in the system, but also those bacteria also shaping the immune system, of course. Highly individual, more or less as individual as a fingerprint. All people in here perhaps we just share a handful of bacteria, and I guess most of us have a lot of, perhaps hundreds of unique species that are unique for us as an individual. And finally, of course, if you look at different animals, also giving it also more complicated, very big differences between different animals. So that was the ecosystem, how complex it is. But what are they doing? They are, of course, important they're shaping our immune system, I said. But they're also protecting against pathogens coming in. They take up the space very much, so make it much more difficult for pathogens to colonize and stay there. Also degrading toxic compounds and producing vitamins and helping us with the digestion of different nutrients. I don't know how much you know about this, but clearly there is a number of disorders, different diseases linked to the gut microbiome. There is not today, more or less, where is coming up new information that explain or give an idea that perhaps also new disease has a link to the microbiota. I can't find out that many diseases any longer that don't have this link. Of course, we have infections. That is a very clear link. Pathogenic bacteria coming in and they give an infection. Different types of immune system disorders like diabetes, allergy and asthma. The link here is not that clear, but we have the hygiene hypothesis that the microbes that we are meeting in the first years of life clearly affect how our immune system is shaped and also perhaps can give problems later in life. We have different types of cancer, but also more controversial, also behavioral disturbances. It's clear that microbes, they affect our brain-gut axis. They affect hormones produced in the body and also how we behave. How much they affect is not known, but they have an effect on that. So, we have a lot of disorders. Some of those are increasing in society. Can we correct this system? If we have a problem with eating bad diets, stress, antibiotics, and infections can give problems. Dysbiosis, infections, and possible disease later on. Here comes probiotics in, that we have some definition earlier here, bacteria that could have a positive effect on the health. Those bacteria, or possibly good diet, the diet that also is food for the bacteria, could those have an effect and counteract dysbiosis and get homeostasis in the system and health? This is the whole idea behind the probiotic concept. So I already mentioned that, the definition of probiotics. And most of those actually belongs to the species Lactobacillus and bifidobacteria that are also part of the ecosystem, the gut ecosystem. But this is not a new idea to eat bacteria that should have a positive effect on the health. It's mentioned already in the Bible that yogurt, Moses said yogurt is a gift from God. He didn't know about bacteria present in yogurt, but they already at that time saw that eating fermented foodstuff could have a positive effect. Also Plinius, he was a Roman admiral. He gave sauerkraut containing a lot of lactic acid bacteria to his soldiers for preventing different types of infections in the gut. But the birth of today's idea that lactic acid bacteria is good to eat, and this Russian microbiologist, William Mechnikov, he also then knew that those bacteria, this particular bacteria, could be good to eat. It's a relatively modern science, however, but it's increasing quickly in the number of publications, as you see there. But when it comes to clinical studies then, are there any good science behind this, showing that those bacteria actually could have an effect on health? It's a lot of publications, of course, and it's a lot of different types of disorders that people have tried to cure and treat. And this is a number of those: allergy, inflammatory bowel disease, different types of diarrhea, infections, and antibiotic associated diarrhea. I would say many of those have been unsuccessful in showing an effect. But the one in blue here I can say that in some studies, or in a number of studies, the specific bacteria has been shown to be effective against those disorders. And it can very well, it's used a lot today in medicine, especially when it comes to colic, different types of gastrointestinal infections, and also staying healthy, just preventing different types of infections. And we give you two examples of clinical studies showing positive effect of different types of probiotics. This is a product containing one lactobacillus that was given to infants 13 to 86 months of age. So they were eating, and very importantly here, it was a randomized double-blind study, placebo control. I think that is the standard you have to have in this type of studies. So, in some of the results here, they looked at respiratory tract infections, but also gastrointestinal infections. Strange enough, I mean, you were eating this bacteria, but it didn't affect the incidence of gastrointestinal infections. But you had a significant decrease in the number of infants getting respiratory tract infections. showing that this bacteria in some way affected the immune system. Also, they studied the absence from daycare centers due to infections. And once again, this bacteria and this product decreased the number of days that the infants had to be absent from the daycare center. This is not, life-threatening diseases, but still, it's a lot of infants getting infections. So clearly, here we could prevent that in many cases. Another study, it's another type of product, here given to newborn infants. That often, if they are born too early, they often have to stay a long time at hospital. They realize a lot of infections, and sometimes also they could have some problems, some side effects of those infections, so they stay the whole life, more or less. So here, 2 types of products and also 1 control group. They were getting those 72 hours after birth. And what they saw was that both those products actually decreased the colonization of candida and also decreased the number of children with suboptimal neurological status 1 year after birth. Very, very good effects in this study. But also the number of days at the clinic. Here only one of the products, this containing Lactobacillus reuteri, actually decreased the number of days, almost close to the half of as in the control group. So just 2 examples, but there is a lot of different other studies showing the same. And so there is a good number of good studies showing that probiotics can prevent infections and perhaps also other problems. But it's important to remember that all those effects are strain specific. You can never say that probiotics have that and that effect. You can say